All right, you drunken bastards, welcome back to the Drunken Rant Uncensored. We're about to dive into some deep shit today.
Oh yeah, this one's a doozy.
We're calling this deep dive Clause for Concern, the government's grizzly fuck-up.
Catchy.
Because the government's decided to reintroduce grizzly bears to the North Cascades.
Yep, those geniuses are at it again.
I'm Liam, and I'm already stocking up on bear spray and adult diapers.
Sounds like a good plan.
Because if those government clowns can fuck up the dairy industry, imagine what they can do with a bunch of pissed-off grizzly bears.
I'm Olivia, and while I agree that the government's track record is less than stellar, this reintroduction isn't some spur-of-the-moment decision.
Hey, really?
The National Park Service and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, they've been working on this plan for years.
Years, huh? So they've had plenty of time to really polish this turd. What's the grand plan anyway?
Well, they're planning on releasing 3 to 7 grizzlies every year, with the goal of establishing a population of at least 200.
200? That's a whole lot. Oh shit, there's a bear moments. What's the rationale behind all this?
Grizzly bears are considered a keystone species, which means their presence, or lack thereof, has a significant impact on the whole ecosystem.
Okay, so they're good for the trees and the bunny rabbits. But what about the humans? You know, the ones who pay taxes and vote?
Public engagement has been a crucial aspect of this whole process.
Oh, so they held a bunch of town hall meetings where everyone got to air their grievances, and then they just went ahead and did whatever the hell they wanted anyway.
Well, not every concern can be directly addressed, but the plan aims to mitigate potential risks through a combination of strategies.
Like what?
Promoting responsible recreation in bear country, providing resources for livestock protection, and investing in research to better understand grizzly bear behavior.
Yeah, good luck explaining responsible recreation to a grizzly bear who just woke up from hibernation.
What about those folks who live in the middle of grizzly bear territory? The plan acknowledges the unique challenges faced by those residents. It emphasizes the importance of community outreach and education, promoting coexistence strategies, bear-resistant garbage cans, electric fencing, and proactive measures to minimize attractants.
Bear-resistant garbage cans, electric fences. Sounds like we're turning the whole damn place into Jurassic Park.
The analogy isn't entirely inaccurate. Reintroducing a large predator like this is a complex undertaking.
And who's responsible for ensuring this balancing act doesn't turn into a bloodbath?
Oh, right! The same government geniuses who brought us the Got Milk campaign as a solution to a cheese surplus the size of a small country.
I understand your apprehension. There have been instances where government intervention in ecological matters hasn't exactly gone according to plan.
You think?
But it's important to remember that this reintroduction is based on extensive research, data analysis, and the expertise of wildlife biologists and conservationists. Research data analysis expertise. Sounds a lot like the ingredients for a delicious word salad. Designed to distract us from the fact that we're essentially rolling the dice with a species. That can turn a human into a pile of bloody bones faster than you can say ecosystem engineer.
While the potential risks associated with grizzly bear reintroduction are undeniable, it's essential to recognize the potential benefits as well.
Like what?
Grizzlies are not just a piece of the ecological puzzle, they're a symbol of wildness, of the untamed power of nature.
Okay.
Their presence can enrich our understanding of the natural world and inspire us to reconnect with our own primal instincts.
Reconnect with our primal instincts, huh? You mean like running like hell when we see a grizzly bear charging at us? But seriously, I'm all for ecological balance and whatnot, but I'm also a big fan of not getting mauled to death. So what's the game plan for keeping those furry death machines from turning our national parks into all-you-can-eat buffets?
Coexistence is the key word. Coexistence, it's a concept that hinges on understanding and respecting the needs of both humans and grizzly bears. And it's been achieved successfully in other parts of the country where grizzlies roam. Take Yellowstone National Park, for example. Millions of visitors navigate those trails every year alongside a healthy grizzly population, and incidents are relatively rare.
Yeah, but Yellowstone is like grizzly bear central. Those tourists practically expect to see a bear sniffing around their campsite. It's part of the whole roughing it experience. But plopping a bunch of grizzlies down in the North Cascades, that's like dropping a pack of wolves into a kindergarten playground and saying, all right, kids, playtime.
That's a rather colorful analogy, but it highlights the need for education and preparation.
Okay.
The success of coexistence relies on people understanding grizzly bear behavior and taking appropriate precautions.
Exactly.
The plan outlines a comprehensive public education campaign aimed at equipping visitors and residents with the knowledge and tools they need to safely navigate grizzly bear country.
So we're going to give a bunch of city slickers a pamphlet on how to not get eaten by a bear and send them on their merry way.
The education campaign goes beyond just pamphlets. They're planning ranger-led talks, community workshops, even online resources that cover everything from proper food storage to understanding bear body language.
Okay, so we're teaching folks how to speak grizzly. What about those folks who are already fluent in run the fuck away? The ones who've had a close encounter with a furry death machine and live to tell the tale.
Well, it's important to remember that not everyone welcomes the idea of sharing their space with grizzlies.
No kidding.
There are ranchers who worry about their livestock, homeowners concerned about property values, and folks who simply don't feel comfortable hiking in bear country.
Their concerns are valid.
And need to be addressed.
Damn straight, they're valid. Imagine waking up one morning to find a grizzly bear taking a dump in your swimming pool. Not exactly the kind of wildlife encounter you brag about on Instagram, is it?
It's about finding solutions that work for both people and bears.
Okay.
The plan includes provisions for livestock compensation programs, research into non-lethal deterrence, and funding for community-based conservation efforts.
So basically, throwing money at the problem.
The goal is to minimize conflict and foster a sense of shared responsibility for managing the grizzly bear population.
Shared responsibility, huh? Sounds like a load of bureaucratic bullshit to me. But hey, if it keeps those furry bastards out of my backyard, I'm all for it. But isn't this whole reintroduction thing just a giant social experiment? Like, we're gonna stick a bunch of grizzlies in the woods, cross our fingers, and hope they don't decide to go on a human hunting spree.
It's not about experimentation, it's about restoring balance.
Balance.
Grizzly bears were eradicated from the North Cascades due to human actions, and this reintroduction is an attempt to right that wrong.
Righting a wrong, huh? So we're playing God now. What's next? Bringing back the dinosaurs. I can already see it. Jurassic Park, North Cascades edition.
I understand your skepticism, but think about it this way. For centuries, humans have treated nature as something to be conquered, exploited, and controlled. This reintroduction represents a shift in that mindset.
Okay.
It's a recognition that we're not just visitors on this planet, we're part of a complex web of life.
A web of life, huh? A web where one wrong step can land you in a pile of grizzly bear shit, literally and figuratively.
Look, I'm all for saving the planet and whatnot, but I'm also a big fan of self-preservation. And let's be honest, this whole thing is going to require a hell of a lot more than just good intentions and bear-proof garbage cans.
You're right, success hinges on ongoing monitoring, adaptive management, and a willingness to learn from both our successes and our failures.
Adaptive management. That sounds like a fancy way of saying we'll figure it out as we go along, and if a few hikers get eaten in the process, well, that's the price of progress.
Yeah.
But seriously, what are we monitoring?
The monitoring program is designed to track various factors, including grizzly bear movements, habitat use, and interactions with humans.
Okay.
The data collected will inform management decisions, allowing for adjustments to be made as needed to ensure both ecological success and public safety. So we're basically treating this whole thing like a giant science project. We're going to poke and prod these bears, track their every move, and analyze their shit like it's the freaking Rosetta Stone.
It's not about treating them like lab rats. It's about understanding their behavior in this new environment.
Okay.
The data collected through monitoring will help us identify potential conflicts before they escalate, allowing for proactive measures to be taken.
Proactive measures, huh? Like issuing every hiker a suit of armor and a flamethrower. Because at this point, I'm not sure a can of bear spray and a prayer is going to cut it.
You're certainly approaching this with a healthy dose of humor, and I appreciate that. But it's crucial to recognize that fear and misinformation can be as dangerous as any grizzly bear.
Right.
Educating ourselves, embracing science-based management practices, and fostering a culture of respect for wildlife.
Yeah.
We can navigate this new reality without resorting to hyperbole and fear-mongering.
Respect for wildlife, huh? That's a noble sentiment. But I think a healthy dose of fear is warranted too. I mean, we're talking about grizzly bears. They're not teddy bears. They're not cartoon characters. They're not cuddly mascots for your local sports team. They're powerful, unpredictable predators. And we're messing with their territory. What could possibly go wrong, right?
You're right to emphasize the importance of respecting their power and wildness.
Yeah.
This isn't about romanticizing grizzlies or downplaying the potential risks. It's about acknowledging their place in the ecosystem and finding ways to coexist safely and responsibly.
Coexist, maybe.
Exactly.
Safely debatable. Responsibly, I'll believe it when I see it. In the meantime, I'm stocking up on bear spray, beef jerky,
Yeah.
and maybe a few extra pairs of running shoes.
Yeah.
Just in case.
I appreciate your willingness to engage with the complexity of this issue. We've covered a lot of ground today, from the ecological rationale behind grizzly bear reintroduction to the very real concerns of those who might share their space with these magnificent creatures.
We've talked about the science, the politics, the fear, and the potential for a whole lot of oh shit moments in the woods. So where do we go from here?
Ultimately, the success of this reintroduction hinges on our collective ability to learn, adapt, and find a way to coexist.
Coexist, huh? Easier said than done when you're dealing with a creature that can disembowel you with a single swipe of its paw. But, hey, maybe that's the whole point. Maybe this is nature's way of giving us a giant middle finger and saying, hey, remember us, we're still here, and we ain't going down without a fight.
It's certainly a humbling experience to confront the power of nature, especially when it comes in the form of a grizzly bear. But it's also an opportunity to reevaluate our relationship with the wild, to recognize that we're not the sole proprietors of this planet.
Yeah, sharing is caring and all that jazz. But when you're sharing with a grizzly, it feels more like sharing is shitting your pants and hoping you're not the main course.
Yeah.
Look, I get the ecological arguments, I really do. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I'm just a dude who likes to hike without worrying about becoming bear scat.
And that's a perfectly valid concern. Nobody wants to end up as a grizzly bear snap. But the point is, coexistence isn't about denying fear. It's about managing it. It's about understanding that we can share this landscape without resorting to eradication or hysteria.
So how do we do that? Do we all need to become Bear Grylls and learn how to wrestle a grizzly into submission using nothing but a stick and a shoelace? Because I'm not sure my survival skills extend beyond ordering takeout and binge watching Netflix.
It's not about becoming wilderness warriors. It's about making smart choices. We've talked about the practical steps, carrying bear spray, hiking in groups, making noise on the trails, and being aware of our surroundings. But it goes beyond that. It's about respecting their space, understanding their behavior, and recognizing that we're entering their territory, not the other way around.
Right, because bears totally no trespassing signs. They're probably out there right now laughing their furry asses off at our attempts to control nature. Hey, look at those hairless apes with their puny fences and their fancy spray bottles. We'll show them who's boss.
While bears might not adhere to our legal boundaries, they do respond to consistent and predictable behavior. By following established guidelines and educating ourselves, we can minimize the risk of encounters and create a safer environment for both humans and bears.
All right, so we educate ourselves, we respect their boundaries, we carry enough bear spray to take down a small army. But let's be real, shit happens. What if, despite our best efforts, we find ourselves face to face with a grizzly who's looking at us like a walking buffet? What's the plan then? Play dead, sing it a lullaby, or maybe offer it a beer and hope it's in the mood for a party?
First and foremost, don't panic. Bears pick up on fear, and that can escalate the situation. If you encounter a grizzly, stand your ground, talk to it calmly, and slowly back away. Avoid direct eye contact, which can be perceived as a challenge if the bear charges. Use your bear spray. And remember, while a grizzly encounter can be terrifying, most bears are more interested in avoiding conflict than engaging in it.
So basically, we just gotta channel our inner Zen master and hope for the best. Sounds like a solid plan. But let's say, hypothetically speaking, that this whole coexistence thing goes tits up. What if those grizzlies decide they prefer the taste of hikers to huckleberries? What's plan B? That we call in the National Guard and arm them with bazookas?
It's important to remember that this reintroduction is a long-term project, not a quick fix. There will be challenges, there will be setbacks, and there will likely be instances where human-bear conflict arises. But the plan includes contingencies for managing such situations, including relocation efforts, hazing techniques, and as a last resort, lethal removal.
Lethal removal. So we're going to spend millions of dollars to reintroduce these bears, only to potentially blow their furry brains out if they get a little too close for comfort. It's like a classic government clusterfuck to me.
It's not about resorting to lethal measures lightly. The goal is to prevent such situations from occurring in the first place through education, prevention, and a commitment to responsible management. But it's also about acknowledging that in a world where humans and wildlife share increasingly overlapping spaces, difficult decisions sometimes have to be made.
Difficult decisions, huh? Yeah, I bet it's a lot easier to make those decisions when you're sitting behind a desk in some air-conditioned office miles away from the actual bears. But hey, that's the beauty of bureaucracy, isn't it? Pass the buck, avoid responsibility, and hope nobody notices the pile of bear shit growing in the corner.
While your cynicism is certainly entertaining, I think it's important to acknowledge the dedication and hard work of the countless individuals who are working tirelessly to make this reintroduction a success. From the wildlife biologists, to the park rangers, to the community outreach coordinators, there are a lot of people who are genuinely committed to finding a way for humans and grizzlies to coexist.
All right, Olivia, I'll give you that there are definitely some passionate folks out there who are fighting the good fight for both the bears and the beer-drinking, nature-loving humans who might stumble upon them. But let's be honest, this whole thing is a gamble. We're rolling the dice on a species that's as unpredictable as a drunken frat boy at a kegger. We can plan all we want, but at the end of the day, nature's going to do what nature does.
And that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The wildness, the unpredictability, the reminder that we're not in complete control. Maybe that's what we need, a little dose of humility, a recognition that we're not the only ones who matter. Maybe by learning to live alongside grizzlies, we'll learn something about ourselves, about our place in the grand scheme of things.
Deep thoughts.
Olivia.
Deep thoughts makes you want to grab a beer, sit around a campfire and ponder the mysteries of the universe, or maybe just run for the nearest tree and hope the bear isn't in the mood for a philosophical debate. Either way, this grizzly bear reintroduction is going to be one hell of a ride. So buckle up, folks. Grab your bear spray, and let's see what happens when humans and grizzlies collide.
And as always, we want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this wild experiment? Are you excited about the return of the grizzlies, or are you already drafting your last will and testament? Hit us up in the comments and let's keep this conversation going.
Because that's what we do here at the Drunken Rant Uncensored. We tackle the tough topics, the controversial issues, the stuff that makes you think, laugh, and maybe even spill your beer in the process. So until next time, stay wild, stay informed, and for the love of all that is holy, stay away from the bears.
And that's a wrap on another episode of the Drunken Rant Uncensored. Thanks for joining us, folks. We'll catch you next time for another deep dive into the wild, the weird, and the wonderfully